So just I want to emphasize here is that historically, that is in our own country, almost all the committees and commissions, they have emphasized that the learning and assessment, it is a continuous process. It is almost all the committees and commissions, even before independence and after independence, that CCE, continuous and comprehensive evaluation, is the integral part of teaching and learning. It cannot be separated. It is not different from one to another. Whenever learning is a continuous process, so teaching is a continuous process, so assessment also should be a continuous process. So what we are doing in the present context since long, because NCERT is the pioneer, and since long 30 or 40 years back, NCERT has suggested that continuous and comprehensive evaluation is an integral part of teaching learning process. But fortunately or unfortunately, the understanding of continuous and comprehensive evaluation is not considered what is supposed to be considered. So what I mean to say is that the continuous word, because learning is a continuous process. Every child, they come to the school to learn. And learning does not mean that we have to confine ourselves only in the cognitive areas, because cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain, or whatever curricular, and what we have said previously, curricular as well as extracurricular or scholastic, co-scholastic, all the things are the part and parcels of the teaching learning process. So what I mean to saying that, but understanding of the teachers and understanding of the policymaker was not clear what is exactly the continuous and comprehensive evaluation. So the word continuous, it is an integral, that means we can integrating assessment with the process of teaching and learning. But unfortunately, what happened, everybody, they understood that continuous means there will be periodic test, continuous means there will be a weekly test, continuous means test, but paper pencil test is to be taken care of in the educational institution. So unfortunately, the document of CBSE, when it was released, they quantified affective dimension, they quantified cognitive dimension with some, that means some grade, some point, some mark. So it was very, unfortunately, I have to say that the periodic test does not mean that continuous. So varieties of activities. That means we can say that not only regularity of conducting a test, that means not only regularly conducting weekly test, the name of continuous is misunderstood by some of us. The misconception prevailed over the teachers that we have to conduct series of tests every day or every weekly they conducted, that they understood the continuous word is like that. And comprehensive, it was only confined to the content areas. What is taught, what is prescribed, what is given in the syllabus, and how best it is to be completed, and how best it is to be assessed. So that assessment aspect was confined to only content areas. That other aspect, affective and psychomotor dimensions of the learners, which is a part of the individual's life, because we want every learner, they will be a full-fledged and holistic and a very respectable, acceptable persons in the society. But unfortunately, we consider, or with the teachers community, we consider that comprehensive is confined to the cognitive areas. Making, or we can say that means getting a sense of holistic development of the child related to the cognitive aspect. That is why teacher may conduct as many tests as possible, and they conduct different varieties of tests. They forgot very rarest of the rarest. Research evidence is saying that we have to, every teacher in the country, they have to learn varieties of assessment tools. What Bijanji or respected Ramachandra just saying, peer assessment, self-assessment, observation, rating scale, we can say that different project activities. So almost all that, not only the structured test that is only required, and more formal test that is only required to understand the cognitive ability of the students. That was misunderstood, fortunately or unfortunately, because none of the teachers, they want to give assignment. Many of the teachers, they don't want to take the pains of observing the students' performance in the class. They don't want to give the project and evaluate the project, how the person is participating, how the person is interacting, the communication aspect and involvement in the project itself. It was giving the least priority. So that is why the comprehensive word was confined to content knowledge, and continuous was as confined to the periodic test, and evaluation also. These three words: continuous, comprehensive, and evaluation. Evaluation was only, they thought that it was a record keeping exercise, that we have to keep a record in the system itself. Or we can say that teacher confused that it is just like a precision or physical measurement, that only physical, just in the physical measurement in a room, length and breadth, that accuracy, that evaluation, they understood like that. They didn't realize that it is a process of finding out different activities of the learner in the involvement of the learner in different situations. So that is why what I want to say is that assessment, the word assessment is a means of gathering evidences to meet the requirement of the evaluation. It is a means of gathering evidences. The means are as many as possible. The purpose is to improve the learning, help the teachers to determine the student's strength and weaknesses, and help the teacher during the teaching learning process. So that is the assessment. That is not the evaluation. We don't want to give the grade or a mark every moment when the learner is there in the classroom situation. At the end, okay, summative assessment is required. I am not saying, to understand the curricular expectation, to understand the competency, how competent the learner is, that is to be taken care of. But not necessarily throughout the year, the test is the only means and high media through which we can able to understand the cognitive capital or affective dimension, and we can say that skill aspect of the learner. So that is why the purpose of, that means improving the learning, was not giving adequate attention by the teacher. The continuous assessment does not require the use of standardized structured test. And only we can say that misconceptions of formative assessment is that teacher report in the report card. You might have seen that in the CBSE, formative test 1, formative test 2, summative test 1, then again formative test 2, some formative test 3 or 3, 4. So like that, only test was identified. And they quantified personal social qualities of the learner, they quantified also. A grade, B grade, C grade. How come it is possible? Because how can I able to, because it's a holistic perspective. The overall performance of the learner is to be seen meticulously through observation, through different activities. I cannot quantify the attitude of a particular or behavioral aspect of a particular person. The assessment is designed to monitor and improve the learning process. But our assessment is to improve the learning process, helping the students, finding out the gap, helping the teacher. That is my way of my handling the students' class was not up to the satisfaction. But unfortunately, everything was tuned to the grading, that end part, that everything, that the formative and that continuous, it was all related to the, that means summative assessment. So that is why the spirit of CCE to enhance the students' learning, both, that means through process of assessment and evaluation, was not taken into consideration in right perspectives. Only we were interested how much mark the students have secured, and we want to compare X with the Y, not self-comparison. That what is my strength and weaknesses in mathematics as compared to language. So that should be the spirit of, that means assessment. That should be the spirit of CC. So CC in a holistic perspective, it is giving the opportunity that we have to handle the learner different manner in the classroom, because learners are unique. Many students are coming to the schools from different background. All are not learning the same space. Every learner is unique. So uniqueness is to be found out. And if it is a practice done from the day one, when the students enter into the school, day one, they continue 365 end of the session. So different activities, different work, different involvement, different areas is to be seen. But unfortunately, so we are misunderstood the concept. That is why CC is a school-based assessment. NCET has developed a good documents, the school-based assessment, that every school is unique. My school, where I have studied, and my Sri Kumarji, where you have studied, both are different schools. The teachers, those who have taught to you, and the teachers, those who have taught to me, both are different, even though we have studied class 1 to higher degree education. But our opportunities and facilities are different. So how can we, why can't we be able to give the scope and opportunity to assess their learners differently? Why there is a structured test only? At the end of the session, only one type of test, having different type of varieties. So we want to assess. That is the wrong things. We have done it. We have shown a wrong path to the system and nation, that we have to structure everything so that we can able to say that learners has learned better. That is why CC is the collective responsibility of the teacher, the parents, the other administrative persons, students. Everybody has a role to play in the CC. Not only the teacher is to only keep the record. Teacher, they are having everything is to be maintained record. CBSE, when they circulated circular, everything you have to record it. That is not the purpose of CC. They misunderstood. I should not speak, but I have to speak because everything was quantifiable. So quantification is not the basic purpose of assessment. Quantification is at the end, okay. In the fragment of the session, you can do it. How much curricular expectations have been achieved by the learner? One can do that. But we have to rectify everything in the teaching learning process. It is a continuous process. Assessment cannot wait for end of the session and we have to quantify and give a score and grade. It is a process. It is an actual process. Every day a teacher is teaching. So every day assessment is done. Not necessarily that structured test is to be given. I can observe how the learner is listening, how the learner is writing. I can observe. I can see. I can give some assessment because there are different. The portfolio assessment is there. Rubric as an assessment is there. So that is why the assessment as learning, what our respected sir was saying, that must be. That means I have to learn by myself. What is my strength? What is my weaknesses? So assessment as learning and assessment for learning is to be initiated to achieve the assessment of learning. Because assessment of learning is the end part of the learning process. So these two, as and for, must be giving adequate emphasis in the educational institution. Adequate, lot of training is required. Teachers have understood, but if the higher authority, they are giving a guidance, no, you have to do what we are saying, then they are undone. We have seen it. I have done it in different places. We have gone and given lot of training programs on behalf of the NCRT. But ultimately, the circular is coming from the higher up. No, you have to conduct, that is formative test 1, formative test 2. The spirit of CC is misconception was involved in the minds of the...
Yes,
what I want to say in one sentence, that since this is a very comprehensive, almost all the things have to be taken care of differently instead of only structured test. What I want to say,